All right, so today we're talking SNO Analytics and Google Analytics. So we'll start with SNO Analytics. To access those, when you log into your website from the dashboard, you should see a tab over on the left side, about 5 or 6 rows down here that says SNO Analytics. If you don't see that, please send us a support ticket. It's likely we just need to activate a plugin and just make sure everything's configured properly, but that should appear on your site. If you click into that, you will see your site analytics. But it's always going to default to having selected the past year of analytics. And then depending on how many people you've had visit your site, it's going to adjust the y-axis there and the maximum number. On my demo site, I apparently capped out at 12 page views one day. So not super high traffic there. Hopefully yours is a little higher than that, but you can check out day by day, kind of going over here, and it just kind of shows, again, that line graph of your site traffic. You can click through these additional buttons here to see the other data. So you'll notice, and this will be the case for everybody, your site data is only going to go back through March or February 11th of 2023. That's because in February of 2023, Google rolled out a new analytics gathering tool called GA4, which switched over from their previous one called Universal Analytics. Don't worry, there won't be a quiz later. But the long and short of it is, due to some court decisions, Google had to change the way they gathered their data. So we had to switch everybody over to this new GA4 tool. So you only have access to your data from back in February of 23 through today. But it is gathering, and you'll have, if you've had your site with us since then, you do have all of that data. Again, by default, when you click into the SNO Analytics tab, you'll see the last year's worth of data, but you can also just check the last month or the last week. And then finally, there's an option to plug in a custom date range if you're looking for that. Over here, this box labeled the last 30 days, this is always going to just be some static data from the last month. So there's no way to adjust the data you see here from SNO Analytics. We'll talk about how you can get into Google Analytics momentarily. But in the last 30 days here, you'll see how many unique users, unique different IP addresses have visited your site. You'll see the bounce rate. The bounce rate refers to if somebody goes to your homepage and then clicks off of it, that would be a 100% bounce rate. If you have two people, one person goes to your homepage, then clicks a story, the other person homepage clicks off of it, that's 50%. So the lower the bounce rate, the better. That means that more people are staying on your site and clicking through multiple pages on your site. You've got the average session time, the average amount of time somebody spends on your site. The event count is just, paid click-throughs, page clicks, things like that. So that's, what you can get there, glean from your SNO Analytics tab. However, up at the top here, we have a few other tabs you can click through. So the second tab will isolate the views on the specific stories. So let me select the last year here. And so you'll see the number of stories. You can set that to display up to 100 stories per screen here. And you'll see the number of views on that story. So that can be helpful, telling you, which story got the highest traffic. Might help you in your brainstorming and thinking what type of coverage is most popular with our readers. And is that something that we want to pursue more stories in that style? The most viewed URLs here, this is those static pages. So it is things that are not stories. So pages that aren't stories. So my most popular one on my demo site here, people are clicking on my staff page, your about page. Those are probably going to be your top two. But if you have a scores and schedules page as part of our site booster, that's the sports page that we create for you. You'll see that. You might see Some info boxes there. If you tag your stories, you might see people clicking on some specific tags. So, it's just those different pages that aren't stories that lets you know what people are clicking into. Then, if you use the trending stories widget on your site, and if you do, let me just show you an example here. The trending stories, usually it's placed on the sidebar. Some of you may have it on your homepage, but it just pulls in your uh, X number of most popular stories. Those stories get generated based on the analytics. And so you can adjust the settings for your trending stories widget from your analytics tab. So for example, I can say, I only want this, the trending stories to be based on, by default, it's the last 30 days, but I can say I maybe want it to be a little fresher than that, just the last 15 days or the last couple weeks of views. And then I think the more interesting and more frequently used function here is the option to exclude stories with a date older than, and then you can set a specific date. So, for example, back when I was advising, I had somebody, my second year advising, who wrote a book review. I was unfamiliar with the book, but that book review was constantly our top viewed story for years. I think people were just, they'd found it had found its way onto the dark student web, and people were turning that book report in for their English class. Anyway, there was a reason, for whatever reason, that super old story was always showing up, and which was, not what I was hoping to see on my trending stories widget. So this allows you to override that. You can say, I don't want any stories older than, let's say, July of this year. So then it's only going to show stories that have been published after this date. So once you've published your first rounder of stories for this year, had some stories, 5 or 6 new stories out for this school year, you might want to set that up. So that way your trending stories are only showing stories that have been published this school year. You can click the preview changes button there to see how that changes. So you can see I've not had a ton of traffic since July here. So again, then I might want to go in and adjust that date, preview it again. And then if I like the results I'm seeing, this is more in line what I would hope to see on my trending stories widget, I can save those changes, and it's going to save the parameters I set and apply them to that trending stories widget, whether it appears in my sidebar or on the home page there. So that can be a helpful tool for you, found in the SNO Analytics tab. We'll come back to Google Analytics in just a moment. The last thing I'm going to note for you is you'll have a tab up here that says Maps. We're working on what's causing this, but for right now, when you go to Maps, you do have to refresh the page. But when you do, you're going to get a map view. So you can hover over state by state and see who from what states have clicked into your site. As I would imagine it's the case for most of you, the state where you live and where your school is located is probably going to be that dark blue, having the highest number of clicks. But sometimes it's interesting to see what other states are clicking into your site. There's also a world map down below. So if you have any, foreign exchange students or anything, you might find that you're getting some clicks from other countries there. So just kind of some fun data to see there on the Maps tab. Again, you might have to refresh to see that map, but it is there. All right, so that's SNO Analytics. It's pretty surface level, but again, gives you an idea of who's looking at your site, what's popular, probably everything that most people are going to need or be interested in. That being said, you may have a business manager or just somebody that wants to dig deeper into the analytics. And if they do, there is the option to add them so they have access to the Google Analytics dashboard. So what you have to do there is go to SNO Analytics and go to the Google Analytics Access tab, add their email address here, and then you will see that email show up down here. So you have a number of users. There's also going to be a trash can icon that appears next to any email addresses. So you can click that to remove them if they should no longer have access to the Google Analytics dashboard. There's nothing they could really do from back there, but if you just want to keep that list up to date, you will have the option to remove authorized emails. And I will note, it must be a Google account. So some school email addresses, even though they're Google based, might not work. So I would definitely recommend that that be a gmail.com account. That's going to guarantee it works nicely with Google Analytics. Once they're an authorized email here, you can click this button and it's going to open up the Google Analytics dashboard. So this one's looking at best of snow, so it's a little bit higher, as you noticed, than my demo site. So just a couple things of note here. I am not by any means an expert on Google Analytics. There's a lot of stuff that you can do in here. I'm just going to show you a couple of the highlights here today, things that you may want to check out. And so what I would recommend is going over here to the left side and selecting the Reports tab. This is going to get you that data that you're looking for. One kind of cool thing is the ability to see viewers in real time. So right now there are 10 people on bestofsnow.com, and it highlights where they are in the country. And if I hover over that dot, it'll tell me the specific city even that they are located in. So kind of cool view there. And if you ever have a story that you think is taking off, it's kind of cool to watch it and see how many people you can get on your site at a single time. So that's the real-time view. The report snapshot here is helpful because it'll show you the number of users. So that's the unique number of IP addresses there that have visited in the date range here. By default, I think it uses the last 4 weeks, but you can customize that here, set a custom range, or select, the last month or last year, however you would like to do that, and it's going to populate with that data and that's going to be somewhat similar to the data you can see on the SNO Analytics tab. But some additional info that you can get from Google Analytics is the source of your traffic. So organic search means somebody has gotten there through a web search engine, probably Google, but could be another search engine there. Direct traffic means they know your URL and they got there by typing, dailyiowan.com into the browser window and going directly to your website. Referral, that would be a link from somebody else's website. So if you're linked on the school website, that's probably going to be a pretty heavy referral source for you. But anywhere else that your site's linked out, that's going to be the referral. And then you've got social, and that's going to be clicks from, Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok. Any of that is going to show up as organic social. So that can be kind of interesting. We have been seeing, again, back when I was advising many years ago, social was the largest driver of traffic. And we've really kind of seen that drop off in the last couple of years here. There's been kind of a change with how people are driving traffic. So those numbers have kind of dropped off. But again, you can still see there's still about 150 people who've gotten the best of snow in the month of August through social media. Other things that you may want to do from the Google Analytics tab here is check out your user attributes. So there you can kind of break it down in that date range, people by city, and so see where most of your users are coming from there, the language that's spoken. Then you can see other demographic details there, the country. You can also break it down again, city, language. And then in the audiences tab here, you just have, the number of users. So the reason that this might be helpful for you is if you are participating in our Distinguished Sites program, one of the badges that we have is called Audience Engagement, and it does require that your site show in a 1 month period 5,000 page views and at least 1,000 unique visitors. So here, this would show you that in a 1 month period, I've had at least 1,000 unique visitors. And then back in the general report snapshot here, or engagement, I would see the number of page views. So here I've had 3,000 there just on the home page, but 30 days I've had 6.8 thousand total page views. So couple different places where you can get that data if you're unable to show it from your SNO Analytics, you can get those screenshots there from Google Analytics. So those are just kind of the basic things that you may want to check out here in Google Analytics. So would definitely, if you want to check that out, kind of click around on your own, certainly you're welcome to do that. Just make sure that you add yourself as an authorized email to have that Google Analytics access. And then if you just click this blue button right here, it'll open up the Google Analytics dashboard for you. So if you would like to know more about how Google Analytics works or more about some of the specific reports that you can run, there's a ton of great YouTube videos or Google Analytics support articles out there. Again, I'm not an expert by any means, just wanted to highlight some of the things that might be useful to you as you look into the Google Analytics there. So that is all I have for you on analytics. That's everything that you can do with your SNO site, kind of a surface, scratching the surface there for Google Analytics. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, that's all I've got for you. Hope you have a great weekend and thanks for joining me at this SNO webinar.